Guests are pretty outrageous in their appearance, so I figure this outfit should make them feel right at home. Let's have a very warm midnight special welcome for Kiss.
Hey y'all, welcome to a new episode of my vlog, and the third episode in my way overly ambitious Kiss history project. Today we're covering 1975. Oh boy. Thanks to all of you who watched my first two episodes of this series. It's inspired me to get more creative with these vlogs, and like you just saw, put in little video clips and stuff and cool stuff, and actually give myself a little bit of production value for once, so that's been fun. So at the beginning of 1975, Kiss was in a kind of strange place where they were selling a decent amount of tickets to their concert shows. Their concert shows were starting to become revered in certain markets, at least, for just being awesome, and they were doing an okay job of even selling out theater dates by the beginning of 1975. But their album sales weren't there. And that's a big problem, because in 1975, in the music industry, pretty much all of the money is coming from the albums and singles that you're selling, not so much live. Of course, that's totally done a 180 in recent years in the music industry, but back then, that's just kind of how it stood. You gotta sell albums to make money. Kiss was not doing that. Despite the fact that they were blowing up stuff, and they had flamethrowers, and they had a crazy stage show, and people kept bringing their friends the next time Kiss came through. And again, concerts are getting exponentially bigger, but it doesn't matter. An interesting thing to watch from this time period, one of the last gigs in the Hotter Than Hell tour. Hotter Than Hell was their second album they had released in 74, which that tour wrapped up in the early months of 75. January 31st, 75, Kiss played at the Winterland Ballroom. It's the first full-length, professionally videotaped Kiss concert that exists.
Come on! You look hotter than hell. All dressed in satin lace. I looked at her and it was just too clear. I had to get on the case.
It exists because the Winterland Ballroom in San Francisco had an in-house video crew, so they filmed every concert that came through there, and a lot of them are on YouTube. A lot of them are gone because their warehouse that had all of the videotapes of the concerts burned down back in the 80s, but whatever they had made a copy of by then still exists, and that Kiss concert from the end of the Hotter Than Hell tour is one of them, and it's awesome. But very shortly after that concert, in February, it was time for Kiss to put out a new album, because that was the strategy. They just put out Hotter Than Hell like 4 or 5 months ago, bear in mind. But if you don't have albums that are selling you back in 75, you've got to keep making albums till they do, and that's exactly what they did. So Casablanca Records, their record label, was pretty much just as flat broke as Kiss was. Bear in mind, they were a 1974 upstart record label. So rather than fly the band and all of their people out to New York for a while and record there and then ship them back, they were in LA at the time. They actually, just to save money, they flew Neil Bogart, who was the president of Casablanca Records at the time, out to Los Angeles to meet Kiss. They rented a recording studio, and they didn't even get a professional producer. Kiss, and alongside Casablanca Records president Neil Bogart, produced the album themselves over the course of like 2 or 3 weeks. Very hastily made album, because, again, that's all they could afford. And on March 21st, 1975, this album, my extremely beat-up copy, you'll notice it's very old, of Dressed to Kill, Kiss's third studio album. I like how this just screams how cheap they were back in the day. They couldn't even afford, I mean, this is just me saying this, but It looks like they couldn't even afford a back cover photo shoot. It's just the front cover with the colors inverted. Odd. Anyway, it's a great little album, though. They did a good job. It came out in March. There were 2 singles from it. I may have these in the wrong order. I think this is right, but they had Come On and Love Me as a single. Decent song. Didn't do a lot on the charts, which was a shame. And they had another single called Rock and Roll All Night. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, that's a big song. Everyone knows that song. That must have solved all of their problems. No, it didn't. At least not immediately. Because when that single came out, just like everything else that they'd released up to that point, it was pretty tepid. Didn't do a whole lot. And it was a shame. But there were some markets like Detroit and Indianapolis and stuff where it did well, I believe. But it certainly wasn't a nationwide hit, and that's really what they needed. Shortly after the release of this album, Kiss did their 3rd television appearance on the Midnight Special, which was kind of a big deal back in the 70s. All the major bands went through, and Kiss had a spot on that show. They did a rip-roaring performance where Peter Criss even destroyed the drum set that he'd just been given, I believe, by Pearl Drums. They gave him a new drum set just to use on the TV show, and he just destroyed it on the show for effect. That's fun. Yeah, so again, flamethrowers, bombs, in this television appearance, really enticing to go see the band live, and that's what happened. Again, more and more people were coming to the shows, but it didn't sell their albums. Their albums were still a problem, and that Midnight Special appearance, which could have been a breakthrough for any other act, just wasn't really for them. They still had a lot of ground to make up. But, and their live concerts, by the way, were getting so good that on May 16th, 1975, to start the 2nd leg of the Dress to Kill World Tour, or US Tour, they did a sold-out headlining show at Cobo Arena in Detroit, Michigan. That's important because Cobo Arena held 12,000 people. Granted, Detroit was Kiss's best market back in the early days, but still, this is a band that's good enough and popular enough to headline arenas, even just in a few select markets, but still headline arenas in the United States, and is going bankrupt, and their record label's going bankrupt because they just can't sell a damn record. So they have a meeting with Casablanca Records where they're like, we have a new idea for an album. A new project. And Casablanca's like, we don't really have time to listen to your new project ideas. We're broke. How are we going to do much more new projects? And they were like, well, our studio albums aren't selling. Our studio recordings aren't selling at all. Our live shows are selling out like crazy. So maybe our plan of attack should be to do a live album. And the record label goes back to them and says, you can't make a live album right now. We need something that's going to be a breakthrough today. There's no bands, there's no artists, unless you go all the way back to James Brown in '63 with his live album. People don't make their careers on live albums, and we need a career maker right now. So I don't see how that'll help. And they were like, listen, we've made our careers on the live show. We need to record an album of live tunes. In fact, we're going to do a double album with a big gatefold and a poster, and we're going to do it all up, or in a booklet rather. And Casablanca's like, we don't have a lot of money to do this. And Kiss is like, just give us this one shot. We have to go all out, or else we're doomed. So we need to try. So they did. And on September 10th, 1975, they put out, as I said, double live album called Kiss Alive. This would become one of the most revered rock live albums ever, really. I love this gatefold. It's an old beat-up copy that I've had since I was like 12 years old. Yeah, like I said, they even put together like an 8-page booklet. So they put pretty much every dime that they had left into this album. And I believe they were only able to print 1 or 200,000 copies of it, which sounds like a lot, but really isn't back in those days. And they also put out a new single, Rock and Roll All Night, again, but this time a live version.
So let's rock and roll all night and party every day.
That one takes off. That one gets played on rock radio. That one sells tons of copies. Doesn't become a number one. Fun fact, Kiss never had a U.S. pop number one hit, although they've had a few in other countries. So yeah, they never had a number one, but still, it was kind of a slow burner throughout 75, 76. Rock and Roll All Night just kept selling. And it boosted the sales of the album as well, and the album did really well. Like I said, they printed a couple 100,000 copies, and they were gone. They printed some more, and they were gone. They printed some more, and they were gone, and before they knew it, the album had gone gold, i.e. 500,000 units sold in the United States alone. It was a big deal, and suddenly, it looked like all of their money problems were solved, for the time being at least. Finances are never 100% secure in Kiss's history, but we'll get to that later. But for right now, things are really looking up. They've had their big break. A few weeks after this album came out, it's important to note that Kiss did a fun publicity stunt. So the story came out and went as viral as a story could in 1975 about that a high school football team in Cadillac, Michigan had lost the first 2 games of their season and had started playing Kiss music in their locker rooms to sort of boost the spirit of everyone and get them pumped up for the game. And then they they won their next 14 straight games and ended the season 14-2 and won the championship. And that got picked up by some papers, and I guess Kiss and or Casablanca Records looked at this story and thought, this is a cool way to get some publicity. So they actually went to Cadillac, Michigan, small little town. Again, Michigan is the hub for Kiss fans back in the day. If you're in Michigan, you're in Kiss territory back then. But still, small little town. They go to Cadillac High School, and they spend 2 days there. One day they spend being on a float at the homecoming parade in Cadillac, of all things, and then they have like a whole gala event at the not sure where, but they had some event where they put makeup on the faculty of the school. I guess they just threw an assembly in the gymnasium or something, but. Yeah, they had a fun event, and it was cool. And then the next day, in the gymnasium, they put on a full-scale Kiss concert. I'm talking makeup, I'm talking costumes, I'm talking bombs. I don't know if they used the flamethrowers. I think the ceilings may have been too low for that. But in any case, Kiss played the high school in Cadillac, Michigan for the faculty and students, rather, for the students and faculty. And it became a sort of legendary event in KISSTORY, if you will, to be able to do the full live scale for a bunch of teenagers in a high school gymnasium. Totally awesome, totally quintessentially 70s too, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, as the year 1975 wound down, sales of the Kiss Alive album were up. It had gone gold, and by the end of 1975, it had gone platinum. Yes, they'd done it. That's 1 million units sold in the United States alone. And they were able to put some more money into their live shows, ramp them up just that little bit more, and just have a party. Yeah, and so, so the end of 1975, Kiss is on top of the world and deciding where to go next. And where they did decide to go next is very interesting. But we'll have to cover that next time on this series. One more thing I want to add is that on December 31st, New Year's Eve 1975, Kiss wound up all of their 1975 touring activities with a New Year's Eve show at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Uniondale, New York on Long Island, which was a kind of homecoming show. They weren't from Long Island, but it was a homecoming, so to speak, because they're in the New York area. And that's like a 15,000 seat venue, and they sold it out. Interesting to note about that concert is that opening up for Kiss at that show and a few other shows on that tour was the band Blue Oyster Cult. And Blue Oyster Cult, if you remember from 2 episodes ago when I was talking about Kiss in 1973, Kiss opened up for Blue Oyster Cult in their 1973 New Year's Eve show. So within 2 years, Kiss had gone from being Blue Oyster Cult's opening act to headlining over them. I mean, their careers were on vastly different paths, but still, it's a fun statistic, one that Kiss fans love to repeat, one that Kiss fans love to exaggerate and say that it was 1 year between the dates, but it was 2. But yeah, and that was a cool end to a year that was a major climb for Kiss. They had really defied a lot of obstacles to make it and become such a successful band by the end of that year. And in 1976, they only gathered more, fans and more record sales. We'll talk about that in the next episode of this series. Thanks everyone so much for watching. If you guys don't know, I am a professional musician. I do some touring in Western Canada. You can check my description for a full list of all of my upcoming performance dates, scattered around mostly BC, but also some stuff in Alberta. Also in the description are links to where you can find my music, where it's sold or streamed online. Bandcamp.com is a great place to do that. GrahamStrang.bandcamp.com, that is, where you can get my albums by donation. Don't have to give me a cent, but like I said, I am a full-time professional musician, so any donation I get just keeps me going just that little bit further, so I always appreciate all of that. Lots of amazing stuff coming up on this vlog in the next couple weeks, so subscribe to this channel if you're enjoying these videos. Ring the notification bell if you want to be notified every time I upload a new video, which will be tomorrow and most days for the foreseeable future. Like this video if you liked what you saw. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you, Kiss Army, for tuning into this series. And there won't be a new episode of this series tomorrow. This is a series I do roughly every week, every couple of weeks, whenever I have an off day. But there will be a new episode of the vlog tomorrow. So I will catch you then. This is the first episode of the next 200 videos, next 200 vlogs. This is episode 101. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you again tomorrow. Thanks.